Hello.
Hey, we're back. Look, it's the red bug again, back in the shop.
It is.
Well, you know, a funny story, we were doing little Jewel and we were worried, is it gonna fit out of the shop? And it did. We took the tires off. I go to push the bug out of the shop and the roof crunches right into the rail above the door.
Nuh-uh, did it really?
Yes, so what you didn't see is me being frustrated and cutting the whole dome off the roof.
I just noticed that.
Because, see here, I had pulled the car in when it was just on this rail, and when we lifted it up, the roof weren't going to make it out the door. So that happened since last time.
You really did cut the roof out of that.
Because we're going to put that fiberglass shell on there, so we don't need that skin at all.
Let me go over here.
Get the full effect.
Wow.
So yeah, that happened. There's the roof out there. You can see it's kind of crunched in the corner.
There it is. Oh yeah, I see it. Oops.
Yeah. So live and learn. The good news is the car goes in and out of the shop easily. Love these coffee mugs.
Hi,
Thank
dude.
you, sir. We got some Shop Inspector memorial mugs delivered. But today's not about the bug, and it's not about coffee. It's about this thing. Jamie and I were going to go for a ride yesterday, and this quad is rock solid. It's a 1985 Honda. I think it's a TRX 250. It's a 250, but you can see it's like the hunting version. It had racks on it. Bulletproof machine. I mean, starts, runs every time. Perfect. But over the past couple months, we've been noticing every time we go to use it, it's out of gas. It ain't got no gas in it.
First of all, what is its name?
Beastie. Go.
Beastie.
This used to be a fine leopard print seat, but it has since weathered. Jamie, that was your first upholstery project, was it not?
It was, yeah.
So
we're working on that back rack.
Yeah. Machine is held up awesome, but yesterday it had been sitting for about a week. I pour the gas in and start shooting gas right out the bottom. Already, all you mechanics know what's going on, but we're going to go through the process because, hey, this is what we have to do today. There's a little tube here, for those that don't know. It's a little tube that will drain the gas if it should overflow in the, look how dusty and dirty everything is. This tube will let the overflow out of the carburetor bowl go out the bottom of the vehicle. But when the little float valve thing, we're going to get into the description because I'm sure, Jamie, do you even understand what's going on with a float valve and
not a
needle
clue. It
valve?
sounds like a toilet.
I was going to use that analogy.
Fluid dynamics.
Fluid dynamics. So we're going to get in there. I bought a rebuild kit. I'm going to guess that there's one little rubber piece in there that needs to be changed, but we're going to look at the rest of it, get this thing back on the trail. Now, the first thing you need to do with any ATV modification is remove the milk crate from the back. Because any good ATV is going to need some storage. So I recommend taking off your tie-down strap and your milk crate and getting it out of the way. You got to have your bear spray.
Hey, you never know what's
utility
going to happen
knife.
in the desert.
What are
I
these?
got it. Oh, those are masks for when it's dusty. Yeah, I put them in there.
Bottle caps. Those things are worse than
once
mice.
it's over. So I wear those when I'm
yeah, because of the
driving
valley
around.
fever issue out here. Sometimes we mask it up. You know how to take this seat off?
No.
I know with most of these things, there's a lever somewhere. Here's the lever under the left side, as evidenced by the lever. Look, see, this is a pretty cool pattern.
Beastie.
Look, there's a carburetor in there. There's also a few other things. This is a box that you'll hold your air filter in, and you know what? We never ever checked or cleaned ever. The air filter. I think it's about time we
Air
checked.
filter.
How long have we owned this? 3 years?
Yeah.
Never
like,
even.
I think it is like 3
Never
years.
even looked at the air filter because it runs
I'm
so
sure.
good.
I'm sure Wade checked it before he sold
Wade
it to
checked
us.
it. I know. We got this from our friend Wade. So he had a
Thank you,
pair of these.
Wade.
Thank you, Wade. And Buggy Trash Dad. They're
They're our
father and
desert
son team.
besties.
So this particular model was stolen and raced through the desert and retrieved from some kind of a bad guy who
As
painted the whole thing
evident
blue. So this was like the bad twin. This was the one that got thrashed in the desert. But I mean, touch the press the button, boom, it runs perfect.
Well, the whole thing is I had to have a four-wheeler that wasn't a manual, right?
Well, we got some kind of race quad. It was like a
Yeah.
450, like a Banshee or something.
Yeah.
I mean, hot bike. And I'm
But
like,
I don't know how to change gears.
and I'm like, she's gonna get tossed. So this is a nice cruiser. It wasn't a Banshee, but it was comparable. It was a nasty machine.
It ran hot too.
Oh my gosh, look at that filter.
It looks like the vacuum.
They're usually red.
Yeah.
Let's see what color it is.
Oops.
That looks just like all the rest of the sand out here. We should probably make a routine investigation into the air filter, maybe once a week, and clean it from now on.
Hey,
you can see how easy that was.
I think we need to shut that.
What?
That back, because it's really windy.
Oh, I'll shut this. That back one's tougher to shut. This will quench it.
It's kind of pushing the camera all over the place.
Yeah, but one thing to mention is worth mentioning. Just like the carburetor and exhaust system, the airflow through the shop can be modified either by the intake or the outlet. See how calm it got?
I know some people don't like the bright shot of the outside with my iPhone, but hey, it's what we're working with right now.
First step, let's check what's going on. Oh, it's just a little dusty. It's even worse than our pool filter. Well, now that we got that settled,
Wow.
let's make a point.
I should go get the vacuum and come out here and we can do that too.
Yeah. Take out the air filter. You get all kinds of content on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till you see us do our, what else are we gonna do? We're gonna make a bird cage.
Catio.
Catio. Oh yeah, no, that's definitely ready to
I
be.
did some off-roading in that baby.
Oh yeah, you can't fake the desert. So this is gonna come out. It looks like this little guy's gonna pop up right there. And we'll take this little piece off of the carburetor. And this whole unit should rise up. Indeed it will. That's the carburetor right there. Boy, it looks kind of dirty.
Maybe that's why it's leaking. No. How often do you have to change carburetors?
You could potentially use the same carburetor forever, you know, unless some of the things on the butterfly valve wear out and start to leak air or whatever. But what happens here, I'm pretty positive, unless this carburetor has been serviced before, that's the original seat, needle seat in the float level thing that allows the gasoline to be monitored in its height in the bowl. So from 1985 to 2023, that's a pretty good run.
Wait, no, 1995.
I think this is an 85.
You think it's an 85 for real?
No, I'm thinking about my ATC.
I don't know. Anybody, please
Hey,
comment.
you know what? I just saw a sticker. Everyone. We're looking for the numbers. I want the comments. What year is this? You have a lot of range.
1992.
2001 model. I just seen it. This thing is pretty well, it's still 22 years old. 1985. Who's the old guy in the room? Oh, an ATV? It's got to be from the 80s. So this carburetor, you got this little dealie here that comes off, and that's a little like slide tube thing. I don't even know how to describe it because I'm not a mechanic, but you will see. It's like a shape that slides in it.
tube thing.
Look. Does that not look like a tube sliding thing with a needle and a spring? So I'm going to take that off and set her there. You got some other stuff that I'm not entirely familiar with, so I'm going to use the cell phone and take a picture of this. I used to draw a diagram, right? You draw where the wires and hoses connect, but now I just click a pic. And I got a silver Sharpie, so I'll probably mark it as well. But let me take a photo so we can see the arrangement. So I don't even understand this. This looks to me like some kind of California emissions propaganda. I don't even know. I could see a choke cable.
Is there a choke on this thing?
Yeah, but we don't need it because it runs so good. It's amazing.
It does run.
In the cold weather, you'll need a choke, but out here, we've never put that choke on once.
I'm so glad we're getting Beastie up and running.
Yeah, it's been stone cold reliable. This was the first issue. Even when we got it, the battery was dead and it has a pull start. We would just pull start this thing. All right, so we're gonna take that. Oh, that's still a part of the carburetor. This larger one is not part of the carburetor. And then you got, yeah, I could see the little choke tube. This little one comes off here to the side. And then it looks like it'll come free. We just got that one Phillips head screw. I take this air thinger away. Oop, it's getting deeper. I got the air thinger in the way. Yeah, this bike was put back together with zip ties, literally, because whoever got to it made a mess of it. Wade did some good work.
Yes, he did.
Put it all back together. But this air thinger, oh, looks like it's attached right there. When I say air thinger, I mean it's a tube that if you were to go like into deep water, it draws the air from up here by the handlebars.
Oh.
Instead of it getting flooded.
So it's like a snorkel?
It is much like a snorkel. It is pretty close to a snorkel. Yeah, back in New York, my friend Dave Schnaudel is watching. We used to just get in the freaking stream, like with just the handlebars above and just go down the stream. It was awesome. He had I had a big red, and he had a 250. I don't remember, but it was a 4-stroke. Indestructible. We would flip over, roll down hills. They'd be upside down, running, in gear.
And what did you guys call it when you do that?
We were going sick. We would go out in the snow. We didn't care, out in the rain. We were just everywhere. It was super fun. And now we get dusty out in the desert. We know there's going to be one hose that delivers gasoline to it. I think I may have removed that right here. And then you got this one mechanical cable that will set the choke on. I'm just going to spin that. Usually you spin it and it pops out. I need a light. Sorry, I have to do a little surgical lighting here. Might not be that interesting for the viewers, but man, I'm having a good time. What I'm doing is turning this little, there's like a barrel shape on the end of this cable. It's kind of like a handbrake on a bicycle. You see that little dealie? So you just have to spin that and then it just unclips. Most folks experiencing any kind of bicycle or motorcycle linkage will recognize. All right, now let's play the guessing game. Are we looking at 10 or 11 millimeters down there?
10.
All right, you made the first vote. Let's see. Pairing to check the 10 millimeter. You nailed it. First try. There's 2 of these 10 millimeters. I'm using a wrench because we can never find our 10 millimeter socket. Boom. All right, come on out of there. All right, so there's 2 bolts on each side. Now it's just going to slide off. That's a little drain tube still
my
draining.
God.
So this is what it was doing, see? It's not supposed to do that.
That thing looks so crusty.
Yeah.
Ew.
The elusive desert squid has been found.
That's really what it looks like. Don't get gasoline on my shoes.
So what we have here is one carburetor, and she's still, we'll see when it's on its side like this, that's kind of acceptable because the little float that we're going to explore is not closing the needle. I got this on internet mail order. It's about 10 bucks. It's got all the gear. All right, so this came in the mail, and it's got all the gear. And everything about this carburetor works perfect. And if there's one thing I know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So all we're gonna attempt to do is fix that. See the little black tip? That's some kind of rubber or silicone or who knows what, but that's what seals it. That little thing pushes and stops the gas. So who knows, maybe the float bowl O-ring is out of shape when we take it apart. We got that. Got a couple springs, a couple things. I don't know if we're gonna need all that. Let's put some air on this and clean it up. Consummate professional might parts dip this thing and do a complete rebuild. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hold it by its drain tube, blow it out. All right, got the last of that fuel out of there too.
So when you say a complete rebuild, what does that mean?
Well, see, there's a little O-ring here. Our kit didn't, oh, it did come with it. So I'm gonna replace that for sure. Yeah, nice. So there's a lot of different stuff in here. There's little jets. A jet means the little orifice that the fuel will flow through. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. And like if you're having trouble tuning the carburetor, like it had a flat spot, you try to accelerate and it won't accelerate, or backfiring, constant stalling, things like that, but it runs perfect. I don't want to mess with any of that. Just going to take this off, look at the inside, see the float and that little needle valve thinger, and make it right. There's 3 Phillips head screws, that being 1, that being 2, and wait for it, so it gets really exciting, number 3. Most carburetors share the same kind of basic principle in how they work. This with the tube slider thingy is different than like a Volkswagen carburetor that has a butterfly intake. But this fuel bowl and float and other things, aha! So we got a new one of those. Check. Now, when you mention toilet, what does that look like?
The floaty thingamajiggy in the back of the
Exactly,
tank.
exactly. And when you flush, fills back. This is upside down, of course. Well, it's just been flushed, it's empty, rises up, and it pushes that little needle and shuts off the fuel flow. So imagine you're on your toilet and you're cruising, you're out in the desert, you're on the toilet cruising, and the fluid is just doing this, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, like 1,000,000 times since 2001. Something's gonna give.
I may have seen a toilet running around Playa.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta check this critical part right there. If it starts giving you trouble, you gotta check it. I'm gonna use this piece of spring because it's just a perfect little pusher. That just goes in, slides it out. So you take that, move it over, and you take your float out.
I see the little thing.
Oh, it popped off.
Is that what happened? It just popped off?
No, it's got to be wore out. Let's compare. That looks pretty good.
Me and Beastie were going hard.
Something. Let me get my spectacles on and investigate. Put on my young man spectacles. Let's take a look. Wow, it is actually pretty dirty. You see all that dirt?
I'm done.
That's on the top side of the carburetor. Oh my God, look at that.
That might explain why it's leaking.
Oh my gosh, this thing is filthy. So,
What's the diagnosis, doctor?
well, I think we got dirt. So the rubber seal is coming up and there's just dirt all over it. So no matter if it's in good shape or not, the dirt is causing it to leak.
The perils of living in the desert. So that's a diagnosis. It's a dirty.
Yes, but again, it runs perfect.
It does.
I'm going to just clean out this dirt.
Well, because like last night I drove it around.
It worked
And
perfect.
it leaked and then I jostled it a little bit and then it was fine.
Like while it's running, yeah, the dirt's probably just, it's not dusty enough to clog any of the jets. It's got to just be going in and just working on the rings and the cylinder, just wearing them out. I mean, it does blow some smoke.
Oof.
We're going to put a Band-Aid on this and get back on the trail. Let's clean it up. Hopefully nothing flies away, because it looks like it's all... Well, I stand corrected. I said, well, it just looks like there's a little discoloration in there, but... Now look at that. Silver.
Like new.
So that's our new mantra. Maintenance is the key to longevity.
Especially in the desert.
Especially in the desert. Whoa, let's not lose that. So, the little toilet plunger valve thing, whatever you want to call that, see it goes in a little slot right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes these are brass on older cars, but this one's made of some kind of a plastic. See that? It's a boy. That goes back in. The little needle goes into that hole right there. Want to be sure that that indexes. And then the little rod that we took out goes back where it belongs. Through the plunger dealy. I mean, through the float. I got so many slang terms for what I'm doing here. Still want to deliver the message to the masses. Pros know. All right, so that's back in place. See, the little spring is doing its spring thing. This little guy was on here. I hope I have the orientation right. What's that?
When you put the, whatever that thing was, on little jewel on the engine, you put it on backwards.
How dare you? What the?
Hey man, I'm not the one that said it.
How? I've never been so insulted.
We know. If you guys are just now watching it, we know it's on backwards.
Oh, the flex plate.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope this is the right O-ring. Oh, it is. It's just a little bit out of shape. This is more of a gasket. O-ring would be like an O. This is like a, I don't know, it's like a Martian letter or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's more like an O.
Mm-hmm.
Same principle. All right, now we want to make sure that that stays in its groove because this is what seals the gas in the machine. A little half and half. Yep, there it is. Sweet. All right, now we got 3 screws right where I left them.
Right by your glasses. They're right by your glasses.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just saying. How many times do I have to repeat myself? So I'm going to test that the float's working by just blowing a little bit of air into the carburetor. And that should solve our problem.
And then Beastie is back in business.
So now there's no fuel in it, right? So air can go right in. But if I turn it upside down, that will be pushing that little piece into place. It works.
Yahoo!
Yeah, that'll work perfect. All right, so that's it. The only problem we were having with this was that it was pouring fuel out. I'm going to save all this business. If anything changes in the future, put our little drain tube back on the bottom. This thing's back in the machine. We are ready to rock. All right, we got that on. Come on, give me my moment of glory here. This is me at 14 years old learning all of this. My friend Jimmy Ferguson taught me the principle of a 4-stroke engine on a go-kart. He had taken the engine apart, and I'm just like, the piston goes up, pulls the fuel mixture in, explodes, does this, and I was hooked. Because I had a couple mini bikes, and I just didn't understand the principle. He was a couple years younger than me. He's like, no, dude, this is how it happens. I was fascinated. First, that does the little twist, rotate, and screw back together. I'm gonna put in an order for a fresh air filter. We'll start it up with this one, but we'll get a nice one with spray oil on it like you're supposed to. All right, so the choke gets secured. This little deal goes back on. Now we know, this one being the fuel delivery, go back in action. Right to there. It's down. And the little throttle goes in. There's like a little slot, so you have to find the slot that it rides in. There it is down there. It goes right in. There, he just pops it right down. Now before we go putting this whole business back together, I'm gonna put some gasoline in it, make sure that it actually worked. So we don't have to take the whole thing apart again. But yeah, we got our drain tube. That, and that. Let's fill her up. All right, so because there was so much dust in the float bowl, that got me a little concerned. Obviously the tank's dirty. So why would we just pour dirty fuel right back in to this freshened up carburetor? So I'm gonna dump some fuel in the tank and kind of shake the bike around. Let that dust come out. I'm gonna put a can in there, a little catch can. You ever use one of these? Ever seen anything like it?
No.
Well, it's just a standard tubing cutter, but it's for small stuff. See how I'm just spinning it around and around? Mm-hmm. Well, it's not just magic. Ooh. See, there's a little wheel in there. And as you progressively bring that wheel and spin it, see, it closes on the tube. So there's a roller and a little wheel.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is. They make them in all sizes.
Nifty.
So you open that up, you feel it just start to drag. See, there's the rollers and the wheel. So you 1, 2, 3 or so turns, tighten it.
So what would that replace in the shop? Or is it just an extra little kind of handy dandy tool?
It just makes a perfect nice cut. If you're doing brake lines or fuel hoses or anything, you see how the end is squeezed? Because I just needed a piece of material, so I just chopped it off. But you can't use that. It's not going to flow any material.
Gotcha.
So this makes a nice round.
Brake lines and things like that.
A perfect cut.
Yeah.
No news to the pros out there, but if you're young, wanting to do some of this stuff, try this. Just gonna bring this up to the fuel line coming out of the tank. Just bypass that carburetor for the moment. That way the dirt goes away instead of going into the carburetor. Ooh, I should use a glass jar and we can investigate how much filth comes out. So the fuel flow in an engine of this size is pretty slow. So we could have a mud puddle in the bottom of this tank and not even know it. There is a fuel filter, but the sediment I'm seeing is so fine. It could be going through that.
It's like our pool.
Everything out here. It's a little hard to say. Let's just get some gas flowing and see what it does.
Now, could you put water in the gas tank? Or is that a big old no-no?
Well, I mean, you could, but you'd have to dry it out completely. Dump some fuel in the hole. See what comes out. You should get on the glass side of things. Give a little shaky shake.
It looks pretty clean.
That's the best news I heard all day. Well, nurse, that confirms our suspicions. What were our suspicions? None. Everything's perfect.
And it was just a little dusty in the carburetor.
It's just old age, you know. It had a little rust in the joints. So basically, because the float bowl is just like the lowest point in the fuel system, whatever was in there, you know, this thing sits idle for long periods of time. So just a little sediment got in there, didn't have nowhere to go. So it sat in the bottom of the fuel bowl. But this looks great. That's good news. Now I'm telling you something. I know this machine. I know it like if I had a son, I'd know it. Spent some time, we've had some talks. As long as this thing ain't dripping, you're gonna see. If I press that starter, it's gonna either be like boom right now, or it might then it'll start. It's that reliable. It's been that reliable. It's amazing. Watch this.
Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Perfect. You know, maybe we cleaned it out. No, this is real. Maybe we cleaned it out and now it needs a choke. I just stuck my hand over the carb. See? Interesting. Or maybe the air filter was so dirty that was being a choke. It was restricting the airflow because now we're running wide open. So I'm gonna put this choke back on. Now that it's wide open, maybe we got to use it. Look, it's here, it just came alive. You know what I'm going to do next?
What are you going to do next?
I'm going to call Wade. He knows everything about these things. It doesn't leak fuel anymore. Let's go for a ride.